Hi everyone, I'm Yixin from the University of Virginia. Today I'm presenting our paper on detecting malware injection with program-DNS behavior. I'd like to thank all my collaborators. It surprised me every time I look at the author list and wonder how we managed to work together with people from 10 different institutions and organizations. Hopefully we have enough manpower here to be able to detect malware injection. First, let's look at a very simple scenario. Say I've downloaded and installed the TurboTax software on my machine, and I have a turbotax.exe executable, which I will refer to as the program. It'll always be there unless I delete or uninstall it from my machine. Then if I click open it, it'll create a TurboTax process with process information such as PID, which is the process ID, timestamp, path to the executable that instantiated the process, and etc. Once I close TurboTax, the process will be killed. And while the process is active, it queries intuit.com, which is the domain of the company that makes TurboTax. Now imagine a malware that has infected my machine. It injects its malicious logic into the running TurboTax process and queries malicious domains through the TurboTax process. Here, since the TurboTax process is sending all the queries, even though it's being injected by malware, the process level information is indistinguishable from a truly benign TurboTax process. To make matters even worse, the malicious domain may not even be malicious. Attackers can host malicious content on legitimate domains like github.com in this example, which makes DNS-based detection methods ineffective, given that the domain itself is benign and indistinguishable. These techniques have been used in various attack campaigns in the wild. One example is the hammer toss malware, which used Twitter and GitHub to host malicious content and channel its C2 communications. Another example is Rocky, which again leverages Git repos and also injects into notepad.exe, effectively making Notepad do all the C2 communications. So this is our goal. We want to find a lightweight solution to detect this type of stealthy malware, which first injects into benign processes to send DNS queries, and second, leverages legitimate domains to host malicious content or channel communications. So here, both process information and DNS queries look benign. So the question is, how can we detect it? Let's take another look at this simple example where the seemingly benign TurboTax process is querying github.com, which is also benign. But is this really the expected behavior of TurboTax? Why would TurboTax need to query github.com? This leads to our key insight. We want to characterize the expected behavior of each benign program. So if we observe significant deviation from the expected behavior, it could be a signal for malicious activities. To do that, we first build what we call the Program-DNS Profile. So here's a visualized profile for the Skype program where we have the Skype.exe executable on the left, signed by the Skype company. And it instantiated many Skype processes at different times on different end host machines. Next, we have an aggregated list of domains queried by all the benign Skype processes altogether. And going a step further, we find the registrants of the domains, which we see here mostly are Skype and Microsoft. And finally, there are just 2 countries where the domains are registered. So here we are performing program level analysis where we analyze processes of the same program jointly across different times, users, and machines. And in order to quantify the Program-DNS profile, we also developed 2 groups of metrics, the consistency ratios and the domain types, which we'll talk about in the next couple slides. And first, I want to briefly describe our datasets. For the benign data set, we collected data from 126 machines used by real users for half a year, and we collected 130 million DNS queries. So of which there are 455K processes instantiated from 641 distinct programs. And we used the benign data set to build the Program-DNS profile for each of the 641 programs. And for the malware data set, we collected about 20K malware instances between 2015 and 2019 and ran them in a sandbox where we collected the data. Among them, we identified 5,003 malware-injected processes belong to 32 distinct benign programs. The first group of metrics that we developed to quantify the Program-DNS profile is the consistency ratios. I won't go into the detailed definition here, but the purpose is to measure how consistent the queries of a process are with its Program-DNS profile. So this graph here shows the domain consistency ratio, which only considers the domain in the DNS query and nothing else. And we have the purple line here corresponding to the 455K benign processes. And on the other end, we have the red line corresponding to the 5,003 malware-injected processes. So here we also have another green line that says common. So this is a subset of the benign processes that only includes the benign processes of the programs which are injected by malware in the malware dataset. So essentially the red line and the green line are processes that share the same set of programs. And we can see that there is a significant distance between malware-injected processes and truly benign processes. So the second group of metrics is called domain types. We characterize domains into 3 types shown at the bottom left corner. So there's reserved, owner, and other. So the reserved type includes internal DNS lookups or reverse DNS lookups. And for the owner and other, we compare domain registrant with program signer. So if they're match, then we call it an owner type domain. But if not, it's an other type domain. Now in the graph on the left, we have benign processes, and on the right, we have malware-injected processes of the same list of benign programs. We can see that the benign processes have mostly blue and green bars, very few red bars, which is the other type domain. And on the contrary, the malware-injected processes mostly have red bars. And another thing to note is that among the benign processes on the left, user interactive programs have more red bars compared to non-user interactive programs. So this is basically due to the user interactive nature. So I will stop here given the time limit, and please refer to our full paper for the list of exciting items in the following. Such as the full measurement on the Program-DNS profile and how we incorporated user-level information into building the profile for user interactive programs like browsers. And most importantly, we build a classifier using new features based on our Program-DNS profile to perform detection. And we successfully detected 190 malware-injected processes which failed to be detected by previously proposed methods. And that's it. Thank you for listening.